Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. My, oh my, what a wonderful day. Blue skies, sunshine. Hope it stays that way. Yesterday it started out nice and snowed in the evening. Anyhow, good morning. Heading over to see if that got a beaver today. Going to the dump too, so hopefully I do, and I have to come back to get the canoe. The mail truck just pulled in, so I guess while I'm waiting to see what junk mail I got, check these steers fast. Yep, they're still steers. Every now and then one of them will get their head stuck in the fence or get caught up in something. Need help, so I check these guys every morning and several times a day. Last year, if you've been watching a while, you might remember I had those two fingers in the middle that were black. This one's kind of that way, but those two were bad. They both fell off. Fingernails fell off, not the fingers. And the reason why was their heads with those horns on them. What they'll do is they'll get stuck through the fence, and you have to turn their head to get through these gaps in there just right. Kind of almost like a combination lock. They got a bump on the back of their head that locks them in, and their jaw, the way their jaw is shaped, they can't get out. And yeah, big old bump above their horn. So you have to turn their head sideways, really awfully hard, and then they wiggle out. But most of the time they're pulling back, trying to get away from you. Well, this one was ornery, and he kept slamming the fence, and he got my fingers in between the horn and the fence and turned them black. And that wind we had, dumpsters blown over, garbage around I gotta pick up. Fun stuff. Finished cleaning up those wood chips and things from the horse sale out in the parking lot. Maybe start in on the horse stalls. Yeah, looks like the mail guy's gone now, so I'll check my mail and check the beaver trap. And here we are at the Beaver Pond. My trap is still empty. Well, maybe this won't work. I don't know. Sometimes it takes a little while before you end up catching anything with regular traps too, though. So I'll try this a little longer and see what happens. If not, I'll have to bring down some regular traps. The water level has dropped, looks like about a foot, which is good. I can see the bottom of the creek here, or river I guess it would be. It still looks pretty deep. I bet that's at least waist deep. So you'd have to have chest waders, and boy, falling in, that water is not warm this time of year. It's all just melted snow. There's a bunch of spots here that would be easy to get him, right? Let's see. Hard to tell through my viewfinder. Right there is a good spot for a conibear. I'm pretty sure up under here is where he's probably living. He's been climbing out of the water right there. Right here is another spot. Now, like I say, if I can catch him alive and just relocate him, I'd rather do that than to kill him this time of year. The tail and the caster are still good. I'd get some use out of it, and if they're just weighing the pelts, maybe being prime doesn't really matter anymore. It'd have more underfur, so it'd weigh a little more, but I don't know if it'd be enough to really make a difference. So, I don't know. The other thing, if I catch him alive, I gotta take the time to take him somewhere. my friend Joe, he's got a spot that they want them. But if I end up killing them, I got to skin them too, and that takes time. So either way, it's kind of about the same that direction. So those crows I kept hearing, it's because they have a nest right there. Let's see. Really hard to tell where I'm at in the viewfinder. Oh, there it is. Okay. So there's nothing dead over there as far as I can tell. Years ago we had a pet crow. He was a lot of fun. What happened was the tree that they had the nest in blew over, and we found the nest on the ground. There were, I don't remember, several chicks in there, and all of them except for one was dead. And the only one that was alive, he wasn't doing that well. We brought him back home, we eyedropper fed him and pulled him through, and he was a fun pet. We had him, I believe, 9 years, and they live a lot longer than that. But he was so much fun. He could kind of say hello, but that's all. They say you can teach them to talk by splitting their tongue and all that stuff. Well, that's not true. You're probably going to kill them if you split their tongue. But they will somewhat talk. He was really garbled, but he would say hello. And Henri thing, man, he was funny though. He would play tricks on the dogs, and at the time we had a cat, and one day he was throwing little chunks of food out of his cage. Most of the time we just left the cage door open, but the cage was closed, and he was throwing little chunks of food out of his cage. And we were sitting there watching TV, and I'm watching him do that, and I said, "Cindy, you looking at this?" And she goes, "Yeah, I'm seeing him." And the cat is across the room, and it kind of picked its head up, and it's watching and sees that food being thrown out. And crows, you know how they do, they cock their head like so, and he'd grab a chunk, throw it out, and he'd cock his head, look at that cat, and pretty soon the cat come walking over and started eating the food he was throwing out. And of course he's doing this, he's looking at it and cocking its head, and he'd grab a chunk and throw it out. And he was baiting that cat. After a while, the tail came up, and he glommed onto that tail and pulled it into his cage, and the cat is just squalling and got his claws in the rug, pulled the whole cage over. It was pretty funny. I mean, he definitely baited in that thing. Made a mess though, but another time, we hadn't had him out for a while, and like I said, most of the time we had the cage door open, and I opened up the door to let him out, and he was messy, and he made a beeline over to the corner of the room, and he started tugging on the rug. And we're thinking, what the heck are you doing? He pulled back the corner of the rug, pulled a chunk of ham out of there he'd hid. That was really disgusting. We thought, shoot, what else has he got hid around here? But he was a neat pet. I really miss him. But the neighbors, we had him out in the yard. He never really learned to fly very well. He'd go a little ways, and then he'd crash and kind of pile up somewhere. But in summertime, we'd put his cage outside, and if we were outside, we'd let him out of the cage, and he'd just hop around the yard and whatever. He wouldn't go anywhere. And Cindy was working in the garden, and he was hopping around the yard. And next morning, he was eating bugs and things. Next morning, I look out there, and he's at the bottom of the cage. I thought, uh-oh. I went over there, and sure enough, he was dead. And after that, we started finding some other birds around the area that had died. And I think what happened with the neighbor down the road was warbexing cattle, they call it. Warbex is an outlawed chemical, what would you call it? Insecticide, I guess, that you'd call it. It's a pour-on. You pour it along the spine of the cow, and it would kill any parasites it had, both inside and outside. It would kill everything from ticks and fleas to worms, and it worked really well, but it was really nasty stuff. And all a bird had to do was land on the back of that cow, and it would kill it. The stuff would penetrate up through its feet, and it would kill the bird. And I think what happened more likely is Leroy was his name. Anyway, I think he ended up getting a bug that had probably landed on one of those cows and flew far enough to make it into Cindy's garden, and it killed him. So I'm glad to see they don't use that anymore. That was a nasty chemical. Anyway, kind of disappointed I don't have a beaver today. I really kind of thought I might. But give it a few more days, then I'll have to switch over to leg traps and conibears probably. But kind of fun to try this anyway. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm sure the trap will work. It's just getting him to go inside of it. Might need to canoe over there and freshen up the caster. Anyhow, back to fairgrounds stuff. So while I've been sitting here talking about this, looking up here on the mountain, and bunch of elk up there. This camera hopefully will work. The zoom on it seems to be kind of hit and miss. Let's see, where are we at? There's 3 trees there. They should be, yeah, right about in there. One of the things I like the best about these cameras is this 90 power zoom. But it hasn't been wanting to focus here lately. I'm a little bit afraid to zoom it in and out. Anyway, good to see a few elk around. See if this thing returns to being focused. I don't know what's wrong with this camera. I hope it's not broken for good. They're a couple $100 anyway. I really don't want to have to get another one. I have one brand new in the box I bought for when this one quits working. So I could go to using that, but I really hate to until I absolutely have to. Anyway, grab my binoculars, see if there's any with horns. By now they should have dropped though. There's a couple in there that are pretty blonde. Usually the bulls are blonde colored, but not always. I've seen some older cows that turn blonde too. Anyhow, now I'm rambling, so thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Maybe I'll have a beaver. Maybe I won't. Wait, time will tell. Bye.